Good evening and welcome to Poland Daily. I'm Nicholas Richardson and this is the news. Poland, the Czech Republic, Estonia and Hungary have blocked the European Union policy designed to reach climate neutrality on CO2 emissions by the year 2050. Prime Minister Mateusz Morawiecki did not agree to accept the possibility of Polish businesses having to bear costs disproportionate to their energy consumption and subsequent CO2 emissions.
Poland is one of those countries which needs to have very precisely formulated compensation packages. We have to know what kind of resources we will receive for the modernization of particular levels of our economy. We must know these figures in order to be ready for any potential changes or potential future commitments, such as the ones pertaining to the climate policy of the European Union. Those commitments must reflect our level of economic development and they must consider our challenges and risks. Therefore, along with other Visegrad Group countries, as well as Estonia, we managed to stop the European Union from imposing the 2050 deadline by which we would have to reach climate neutrality. What that means in practice is that we did not agree to even higher and more ambitious climate goals. Thus, we protected the interests of Polish entrepreneurs, Polish citizens who would otherwise bear the risks of additional taxation, additional costs. We could not agree to that. We need to have a complete, precise analysis as well as a concrete plan on the table regarding what sorts of compensation mechanisms and resources would be attributed to Poland, Polish citizens, to Polish entrepreneurs. That needs to be done so that we would not be caught in an offside trap, much like the former government of Poland did a couple of years ago, which we still have to pay for to this day.
At a press conference after yesterday's EU summit in Brussels, Donald Tusk, outgoing president of the European Council, dismissed media rumours suggesting that he is to be chosen by European leaders to take over the presidency of the European Commission. The current president, Jean-Claude Juncker, who was present at the conference, briefly commented on Tusk's statement, saying, "Thankfully not."
First, the European Council had a full discussion of nominations, taking into account my consultations and statements made within the European Parliament. There was no majority on any candidate. The European Council agreed that there needs to be a package reflecting the diversity of the EU.
I note with some pleasure that it is not easy to replace me.
Question to President Tusk.
That's nice. Huh? I'm giving you the floor and you're asking Donald. Okay. Invent something for me.
I think of it.
Yeah.
President Tusk is in the proceedings? Has your name been added to the list of names for presidency of the Commission?
No.
Fortunately not.
Thank you. This concludes the press conference.
Adam Bodnar, the Polish ombudsman, published a statement today in which he stood by his earlier criticism of the way in which the alleged murderer of 10-year-old Kristina was apprehended by the police. He was responding to negative comments that followed the criticism he made. Many political observers and some politicians have demanded the ombudsman's resignation. In their view, when Bodnar intervened in the defence of the child's killer, he compromised both himself and his office.
I always have and will be defending the value of human dignity, no matter the circumstances. It comes from my constitutional and legal duty, but also from my personal belief. I feel deep compassion for the family of the murdered child. I will follow the course of this case and make sure that the right of the victims to demand a fair trial is respected. However, there can be no agreement for an undignified treatment of a human. There can be no agreement for the abuse of means of repression, for humiliation, demonstration of power and violence of the state apparatus against an individual. There can especially be no agreement for creating an atmosphere of lynching by the state institutions and the representatives of the state authorities, which were established to protect the rights and dignity of their citizens, all citizens. The ombudsman and journalists should apologize to the police, which acted in accordance with the regulations. I can already see the accusations towards the law enforcement if the police officers didn't use the leg cuffs, if the accused, an example, ran away through the window.
Another mind-boggling story comes from Piaseczno, where Piotr Najsztub, a Polish journalist who in 2017 hit a 77-year-old woman with his car, was found not guilty of all charges by the Piaseczno Regional Court. The reason? The court was unable to estimate the speed at which the elderly woman walked onto the pedestrian crossing. The court's decision has aroused many negative comments towards the judiciary, accusing it of protecting a known celebrity or of simply being incompetent. At the time of the accident, the journalist had no driving licence and his car was not insured. Tbilisi, the Georgian capital, flared up suddenly on Thursday night amid widespread public anger over the visit by Russian parliamentarian Sergei Gavrilov, who addressed an assembly of MPs from Orthodox Christian countries from the seat of the Speaker of the Georgian Parliament. Some 10,000 protesters gathered outside Parliament to demonstrate against Gavrilov. The protesters sought to remind the world about the 2008 war between the Russian Federation and Georgia, as a result of which Georgia lost control over the southern Ossetia province.
More than 240 people were injured, half of whom are still in hospital, and 2 reporters lost eyes from rubber bullets. Tens of thousands took to the streets of central Tbilisi and demanded the speaker Irakli Kobakidze step down after Gavrilov's address. Kobakidze eventually complied. His post will most likely be taken by Parliamentary Majority Leader Arhila Talkvadze. The ruling party, Georgian Dream, is accusing the pro-Western opposition of raising tension by bringing up the 2008 war and occupation of Georgian territory in South Ossetia and Abkhazia.
Yesterday, you will remember that we covered the reaction of Polish MEP Dominik Tarczyński, who was enraged by the remarks of US Congresswoman Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez when she suggested that the Trump administration was running concentration camps near the border with Mexico. Tarczyński invited Ocasio-Cortez to visit Poland at his expense to educate her about concentration camps. Today, a 93-year-old Polish-born Holocaust survivor from New Jersey also invited Ocasio-Cortez to visit Auschwitz following her remarks. Edward Mossberg, honorary president of the Holocaust commemoration group From the Depths, wrote that it should be a requirement of all United States congressmen to visit Auschwitz. Despite criticism from others, the Democratic Congresswoman has so far not retracted her inappropriate comparison. These are the words of Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez which caused such scandal. That's the news. Thank you for watching. Do stay with us for Poland Daily Weather, Poland Daily Business and more programmes. But from me, it's have a good night and a better tomorrow.